Welcome to another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ is Lord. Amen. So, NBA rivalries, okay? We all know Celtics, Lakers. We all know Bulls, Pistons. We all know Lakers, Kings. Knicks, Celtics. Knicks, Pistons. Celtics versus Pistons. But what about the underrated rivalries, okay? What about the underrated rivalries in the NBA, okay? And I would say one of the more underrated rivalries in the NBA was Bulls versus Pacers. Bulls versus Pacers, okay? I would say that is one of the most underrated rivalries starting from the late 80s on throughout the 90s, okay? And I would say it really started when Chuck Person came to the Indiana Pacers. 87, 88, 86, 87 was his rookie year. So, and then Reggie Miller came in the next year for the 1988 season. Michael was already on the Bulls for a few years. Then Pippen came in, Grant came in, Cartwright came in. And this was actually a pretty heated rivalry. And like I said, this is one of the most underrated rivalries in the NBA. Okay. So, I would encourage y'all to YouTube. I would encourage y'all to YouTube Bulls versus Pacers, okay? Because it just seemed like they were getting into a fight every other game during the season. They were getting into a fight. Give you a good example. Chuck Person. Chuck Person and Reggie Miller were two of the most trash-talking brothers in the NBA in the 90s, okay? Okay. So, Chuck had a temper. Chuck Person had a temper. Reggie Miller could get under your skin. And so, I remember it was a game during the 1990-91 season. They were playing the Bulls at Chicago Stadium. They called a foul on Chuck Person, if I'm not mistaken. They called a foul, gave him a technical, threw him out of the game. But before Chuck Person walked off the court, he kicked the basketball into the stands. Someone threw it right back out. Chuck Person took the ball and kicked it again. You can find that clip on YouTube, okay? You can find that clip on YouTube, okay? I kid you not. Chuck Person kicked the ball into the stands twice before he left the court after being thrown out. Okay. So then, of course, there was the famous Reggie Miller Jordan fight. You can easily find that on that clip on YouTube as well. And then there was the Tony Kukoc game winner. Okay. So, it was early in the 93-94 season, okay. Reggie Miller had just hit a shot over Steve Kerr. There was like 1.6 seconds left, and Reggie Miller did the bow. Reggie Miller did hit the bow on the Chicago Bulls logo. And so Scottie Pippen throws in the ball. Ironic how that works. Ironic. Very, very ironic that he inbounded the ball to Tony Kukoc. But we ain't gonna go there, okay? So Pippen inbounds the ball to Tony Kukoc. Tony Kukoc catches, shoots it, And what do you know? He hits the three. They win the game. And I know Reggie Miller was feeling like the biggest you know what in the world. And what made it even more humiliating for Reggie Miller, okay? Because he tells his story. After Tony Kukoc hit the game-winning hitting three to beat the Pacers, guess who came up and bowed in Reggie Miller's face? Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr. Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, Michael Jordan makes his comeback against the Indiana Pacers. And then there's the 98 Eastern Conference Finals where they went hence 7 games. Yeah. Yeah, so this is one of the more underrated rivalries in the NBA because Reggie Miller got under Scottie Pippen's skin. I remember reading a story where Pippen was going to the basket and he actually tried to elbow Reggie Miller in the head. Scottie Pippen tried to elbow Reggie Miller in the head. And not only did he not elbow him in the head, he lost control of the ball as well. So, but starting in 80, this is when Jordan and Pippen were on the Bulls and Miller and Person were on the Pacers. Starting in 87, 88. The Bulls took 3 of 6 from the Pacers in 1988. In 1989, the Bulls took 4 of 6. In 1990, they took 2 of 4. 2 of 4 games, the Bulls did. In 1990-91, the Bulls took 3 of 4. 91-92, they took 3 of 4. The only time that the Bulls took the entire regular season series is 1992-93, when the Pacers were 0-5 against the Bulls that year. They were 0-5 against the Bulls that year. And during Michael Jordan's first retirement, 93-94, the Bulls actually took 4 of 5 games that year. Yeah. And Jordan's comeback game, I think the Pacers actually led by 18 in that game. But they came back, and there's a famous clip of Jordan stealing the ball, and the famous shot where he's going for a layup over Mark Jackson and Reggie Miller. Yeah. The Pacers won 103-96, but not before the Bulls took it to overtime. So, but yeah, that was one of the more underrated rivalries in the NBA. Yeah, that was one of the more underrated rivalries. I would say you can make a case for Phoenix and the Lakers being an underrated rivalry in the early part of the 90s, because 1989, Lakers swept the Suns. Then in 1990, the Suns turned around and beat the Lakers in 5. Okay. And then it was 1993 where the Lakers, who were in 8th seed, won the first 2 games. Suns came back and won the series in 5. So that was an underrated rivalry for a short amount of time. Yeah. And I would say Lakers Blazers of the late 90s, early 2000s. That was an underrated rivalry too. That was an underrated rivalry. Because the Lakers met the Blazers in the 97 playoffs, swept the Blazers. 98, I believe they beat the Blazers 3 games to 1 in the first round. 2000, we all know, 2000 Western Conference Finals. 2001, swept the Blazers. 2002, swept the Blazers in the first round. So, yeah, I would say Lakers and Blazers was one of the more underrated rivalries in the NBA. What would you all say are the most underrated rivalries in the NBA? What do you all say? Let me know in the comments, okay? All right, that's it for another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. Hope everybody has a peaceful, tranquil, restful weekend. I know I will, because I'm tired as hell. Peace out, y'all. Peace out. God bless.